I went to a high school, public high school, probably like most of you will do. And then, how many of you going to college? I bet you all will. I'm almost sure of it with teachers like you have here and parents that are going to tell you, you got to go to college if you want to get some great job and do fun things in this world. I went to a community college, which was kind of close to home. It was cheap, it was inexpensive compared to the place I transferred to, which is one of the oldest engineering schools in the country. There are lots of engineering schools in and around New York City and around our country. Lots of good schools with lots of fun things to learn. That's one of my kids. I wanted to show you who can be an engineer. That's my third grader. Her name is Esther. And she can be an engineer. You guys can be an engineer. People become engineers usually because they find certain kinds of engineering or something about the education interesting. Maybe it's mathematics. Maybe they like to use computers. Maybe they like, in my case, building and bridges. Esther's wearing her, I took this last night, she was at a karate test. And interestingly, for today, here's my third grader. Karate's about discipline and focus and listening. These are the things you need to learn anything. Whether you want to be a doctor or a teacher or an engineer, or you had a storyteller maybe. Today, maybe your class didn't. I saw musicians, I saw all kinds of interesting people floating around. And the people you meet this year are going to leave certain impressions and maybe interests. Next year, I imagine, in 5th grade, you'll meet more people, right? You do career day every year. Do I think my daughter Esther will be an engineer? I'm not sure. I think she's going to be a rock star. That's what she thinks right now. This is just a picture. Why did I include this? Some engineering student drew this picture. It's a picture of a beam with something pushing down on it. And let me jump ahead and show you what they did with this picture. They built, some college students, built this apparatus where these things in the middle push down on the beam to test it. See how that beam is bending? What do you think that beam is made of? It's hard to tell maybe, but you can guess.
I think maybe it's wood.
It looks like wood. It looks like wood. Anyone else want to guess? It's not wood.
Steel?
Not steel.
It's like hard rubber.
Whoa, I'd like to try that. But most of the time what we build out of, you see lots of steel in New York. We use lots of wood. Everyone thinks we only do steel and concrete, but many, many thousands, tens of thousands of buildings in New York are built with wood. I do it every day. That's concrete. Let me back up one slide. These college kids built that beam in order to test it to see how strong it is. They're doing research. And what they do is learn lots of things so they can help engineers like me who do design and construction. They help tell me, even today, what do we need to do to build better beams and better, stronger buildings. What does that look like? You're really quick. That's a stair. Sometimes designer types or people come to me and say, architects maybe? Does anyone know what an architect is? What's that?
Person that makes the design of a building and tells the others to do.
Yeah, architect actually does lots of planning. Like an architect planned this school and decided this is how big the classroom should be, and I need closets over there, and I want the ceilings this tall, and everything. We want lights. And then the architect comes to a structural engineer and says, here's what I want, help me build it. And I tell the architect, or help the architect, make decisions on whether or not it should be steel, or should we build this building out of wood. Does anyone want to guess what kind of material they built this building out of? I'm going to give someone else a chance.
Brick.
It's got brick on the outside, so it's enclosed in brick.
Wood.
It's not wood. I can bet it's not wood. Why do I know that? Actually, it's a good guess because I've worked on so many buildings, and actually I get surprised every day. Even though I think, oh, I know the answer, I find surprises all the time, and that's what makes my job fun. Steel. This is probably steel columns. In fact, you see that in the back of the room here?
Yes.
show you. And again, there's a lot of guessing, and then when I guess how something's built, I sometimes have to figure it out because probably behind here is a steel column and there's a beam. See this over here? There's probably a steel column in there and a beam over here, and then some other beams that span across the top to create a roof and walls. So some architect came to me recently and said, I want to build this stair. Looks pretty wild, doesn't it? Does anyone have a stair like that at home? You do? Really? I want to visit you. That's a very special stair. It's got these treads that hang off the wall, and then that's glass. But the architect said, hey, look, I told my client that I could build that for them. Can you help me? So my job is to make that really strong and so that it doesn't break. So that it works for when kids like you who might live there want to push on the railing and run up and down the stairs. Yes?
Maybe you should put like harder wires to connect them.
You and I may need to work together because these are ideas. You have to make decisions like what should we do to make it strong? Does it need cables or do we need to use steel or wood? This is an example of other things we do in my office. We are an office of 12 engineers and CAD people. What's a CAD person? Well, engineers generally do design work and they need help. So how do we create beautiful drawings and pictures to show them people how to build? We have help from detailers and drafts people who draw on computers and create so that we can send them off to a builder to build these. Yes?
Is it called a blueprint?
It's called a blueprint. Yeah, you know. And remind me, now, do you have someone who's in construction, or how'd you know that?
What?
You've been reading after class, I can tell. So